Welcome to Rhema Words of Faith, Daily Bread Devotionals. Today, we're diving into a powerful verse from 1 Peter 4:8, which says, "Above all, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins." This short verse carries a life-changing message. It reminds us that, above everything else, love should be our top priority. Not just any love, but deep, genuine, sacrificial love that reflects God's heart. In a world filled with division, misunderstandings, and hurt, this verse stands as a beacon of hope. Love isn't just an emotion, it's an action, a choice we make daily. It's what binds us together, heals relationships, and shows the world who Jesus is through us. Let's explore what it means to love deeply, and how this love can transform not just our lives, but also the lives of those around us. When Peter says, "above all," he's emphasizing the supreme importance of love. It's as if he's saying, if you forget everything else, don't forget this. Why? Because love is the foundation of the Christian life. Jesus himself said that the greatest commandments are to love God and love others. Love is what differentiates us as followers of Christ. It's easy to get caught up in religious routines, doctrinal debates, or personal achievements. But without love, all of that falls flat. The Apostle Paul echoed this in 1 Corinthians 13:2, saying, "If I have faith that can move mountains but do not have love, I am nothing." Love is not optional. It's essential. It's the glue that holds communities together, and the force that reflects God's nature most clearly. Peter doesn't just tell us to love, he tells us to love deeply. This word implies more than surface-level kindness. It's not about polite smiles or occasional good deeds. The original Greek word here suggests a love that is stretched, persistent, and enduring, much like a muscle that's exercised beyond its comfort zone. Deep love means loving when it's hard, when people disappoint us, when they don't reciprocate, and even when it costs us something. It's easy to love those who love us back, but true, deep love shines brightest in challenging circumstances. This kind of love requires intentionality, sacrifice, and a heart that's been transformed by God's own love for us. Now, what does Peter mean when he says, "Love covers over a multitude of sins"? This doesn't mean we ignore sin or pretend it doesn't exist. It means that love has the power to overlook offenses, forgive wrongs, and restore broken relationships. Think about it. When someone hurts you, it's love that enables you to forgive and move forward. Love doesn't keep score or hold grudges. Proverbs 10:12 echoes this truth. Hatred stirs up conflict, but love covers over all wrongs. When we choose love, we choose peace over bitterness, reconciliation over revenge. Love doesn't erase the past, but it creates a future where healing and growth are possible. Consider the greatest example of love covering sin: Jesus on the cross. His sacrificial love literally covered the sins of the world. He didn't die for us because we deserved it. He did it because his love was deeper than our failures. That's the kind of love we're called to show others. Not because they've earned it, but because God's love has been poured into our hearts. When we love deeply, we reflect the heart of Christ. Our love becomes a testimony, showing the world a glimpse of God's grace. Imagine how different our relationships, communities, and even the world would be if we lived out this kind of love daily. Let's talk about the challenges of loving deeply. It sounds beautiful in theory, but in reality, it's tough. People can be difficult, relationships can be messy, and our own hearts often resist the vulnerability that deep love requires. Maybe you've been hurt before, and the thought of opening your heart again feels risky. But here's the truth. Real love isn't about waiting until it's safe or easy. It's about choosing to love even when it's hard. Jesus loved people who betrayed him, denied him, and abandoned him. He washed the feet of Judas, knowing Judas would soon betray him. That's deep love. It's not based on how others treat us, but on the love God has shown us. When we remember how much we've been forgiven, it becomes easier to extend grace to others. One of the biggest barriers to deep love is unforgiveness. Holding on to grudges feels natural when we've been wronged, but unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. It slowly eats away at our hearts. Peter's words challenge us to rise above that. Love doesn't deny the pain, but it refuses to let bitterness take root. Colossians 3:13 says, "Bear with each other and forgive one another if any of you has a grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you." Forgiveness isn't a feeling, it's a decision, a choice to release the debt someone owes you, because God has forgiven your debt. This doesn't mean we ignore boundaries or allow toxic behavior, but it does mean we let go of the desire for revenge and choose love instead. Deep love also requires humility. Pride says, "They should apologize first," or "Why should I be the one to reach out?" But love doesn't keep score. Philippians 2:3-4 reminds us, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests but each of you to the interests of the others." Humility helps us see others through God's eyes. It reminds us that we're all broken, all in need of grace. When we're humble, we're quick to forgive, slow to judge, and eager to serve. Love isn't about winning arguments or proving points. It's about winning hearts through compassion and grace. Another key aspect of loving deeply is patience. 1 Corinthians 13:4 begins with, "Love is patient." Why? Because people grow at different paces, and relationships take time to heal and flourish. Have you ever planted a seed? You don't see results overnight. You water it, give it sunlight, and wait. Love is like that. It's patient with people's flaws, mistakes, and growth processes. Maybe someone in your life is difficult to love right now. Don't give up. Keep showing up, keep loving, and trust God with the results. Love isn't about fixing people. It's about being present, offering grace, and reflecting God's enduring love. Deep love also speaks truth. Loving someone doesn't mean we avoid hard conversations. Ephesians 4:15 tells us to speak the truth in love. That balance is crucial. Truth without love can be harsh, and love without truth can be shallow. But when we combine both, we help others grow. Think about Jesus. He was full of grace and truth. He didn't shy away from confronting sin, but he did it with compassion. When we love deeply, we care enough to have honest conversations, not to condemn, but to restore. True, love doesn't let people stay in harmful patterns. It gently guides them toward wholeness. Deep love is sacrificial. It often requires us to put others' needs above our own. Jesus said in John 15:13, "Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends." While we may never be called to physically lay down our lives, we are called to sacrifice in other ways. Our time, comfort, pride, or resources. Sacrificial love shows up in small, everyday actions. Listening when you're tired, forgiving when it's hard, helping without expecting anything in return. It's not about grand gestures, but consistent choices to put love into action. When we love sacrificially, we mirror the heart of Christ, who gave everything for us. Another dimension of deep love is empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. Romans 12:15 encourages us to rejoice with those who rejoice, mourn with those who mourn. Empathy goes beyond sympathy. It's not just feeling sorry for someone. It's stepping into their world and experiencing life through their eyes. It means celebrating their victories without jealousy, and sitting with them in their pain without trying to fix it. Jesus was the perfect example of empathy. He wept with Mary and Martha at Lazarus's tomb, even though he knew he would raise Lazarus from the dead. He entered into their grief because he loved them deeply. That's the kind of love we're called to show. Community plays a vital role in deep love. We weren't meant to do life alone. Hebrews 10:24-25 says, "And let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, but encouraging one another." It's easy to be loving in isolation, but real love is tested and refined in relationships. In community, we encounter different personalities, perspectives, and challenges, which stretch us to grow. When we commit to a community of faith, we have opportunities to practice patience, forgiveness, and grace daily. It's in these spaces that we learn what it truly means to love deeply. Deep love reflects God's character. 1 John 4:8 tells us, God is love. When we love others deeply, we're living out our purpose, to reflect His image. Love is not just something God does, it's who He is. And because we are created in His image, love is central to our identity. When we choose love, we're not just being kind or moral. We're participating in the divine nature. Our love becomes a testimony to the world. Jesus said in John 13:35, "By this everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another." Our love is the most powerful witness of God's presence in our lives. As we wrap up, I want to encourage you. Loving deeply isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. It transforms relationships, heals hearts, and reflects the love of Christ to the world. If you've been struggling to love someone, take it to God. Ask Him to fill you with His love so you can pour it out to others. Remember, we love because He first loved us. If this devotional encouraged you, please like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need this message today. Also, drop a comment below. Let me know how God's love has impacted your life. Your story could inspire someone else. Thanks for watching, and may you continue to grow in His love every day.